So I thought I'd start by just telling you how I use these different modalities, and we do a whole bunch of different things here. We do everything from diet and nutrition to shockwave and hyperbarics and chiropractics and acupuncture and those things that we're going to talk about today. So we use a wide variety of the holistic modalities. So there's lots of different options to help your dog or cat or kangaroo feel better and stay healthy. And so our main things though that we do in a typical integrative medicine appointment are chiropractics, acupuncture, herbal medicine, and diet nutrition. And so this is sort of how these things interact with each other and how they can get your dog feeling better. Do you go to the chiropractor at all?
I have in the
Okay.
past.
Do you remember how quickly after an adjustment you noticed a difference in how you feel?
Yeah, within 24 hours.
Pretty quick, right?
Usually like the first 12 I'm a little stiff and sore.
Sure, yeah, might be a little bit stiff, might be a little bit sore like you mentioned, and that's pretty common. I see the same thing with animals when we adjust them. And so on this little graph I'm going to make here, we'll put time going this way. And then I would put here health or quality of life or feeling better, however you want to describe it, going up. And then just to pick a spot here to start with, our goal is to stay healthier, right? And so when I ask people about chiropractic adjustments and how soon you notice a difference, and I know when I go to the chiropractor, I feel better right away. I swear I literally feel different walking out of the building than I felt walking into the building. And so it's a pretty rapid improvement. But it does fall off over time, okay? I know for me it's because I go back to my old habits, and I think it's the same with dogs. So this is an acute treatment, works very quickly, helps with lots of different things, but doesn't last forever. It's not like a one adjustment and you're done. And so this is chiropractics here. And acupuncture is pretty simple or similar. Works very quickly right away, but also falls off over time. Okay, so those are our acute treatments or short-term treatments. And then as I mentioned earlier, we do a lot of herbal therapy, for example. That takes a little longer to help out, okay? But the effects last a little longer too. So herbal, a little longer term effect, slower onset. And then if you were to ask me what's the most important modality, or if you said I can only do one thing of all this stuff, what would it be? I really think that the answer to that would be fixing the diet. Diet is most important, but it takes a long time to see the effect. Okay, but because your dog will eat every day for the rest of her life, diet really is important. So we're at acupuncture and chiropractic help within a day or two. Herbal might take a few weeks to help. Diet might take a few months to help, but really is an important modality. So the way that we use these guys is we use the acupuncture and chiropractics to keep your dog feeling good while we're getting some effects from the diet and the herbs and that kind of stuff. So ultimately she's feeling better up here over time, and then we can start spreading these integrative appointments out. So Often we might start with, say, once a month or so, depending on what's going on with your particular case. But ideally, we get them to a point where maybe 3 or 4 times a year they'll come in for chiropractics and acupuncture and the whole 9 yards, and they maintain a good lifestyle and health with that. And so that's kind of an idea of how we use these things in between. And then bioenergetics is something else that we do. We're going to talk about that later, but bioenergetics, I think, really helps to smooth these valleys out. So so we don't have to see them once a week. We can extend that out, and they stay better longer in between without the big drops and valleys and how they do. So we'll talk more details about that in a little bit. That makes sense so far to you? Great. So with chiropractic, or in veterinary medicine, we usually refer to it as spinal manipulation. Same thing, just a little bit different nomenclature. But with chiropractics, when I first started learning holistic medicine, I never went to the chiropractor. I didn't go. I never really understood it. I grew up in more of a Western medicine tradition and family, and so never really had that opportunity. My wife had gone to the chiropractor her whole life, and but I was like, okay, have fun, good luck with that. And so I didn't really know it or understand it, and so it wasn't until I started observing a mentor of mine who was a veterinary chiropractor, and seeing changes in his patients that I was able to understand that chiropractic is really beneficial for a wide variety of things, but I didn't, of course, know the ins and outs of the details of how it worked until I went back to school after vet school and learned chiropractics. And so I had this image of chiropractics just manipulating the bones and the joints and that kind of stuff to make you feel better, make you move better, that it was all about the musculoskeletal system. But I didn't understand when chiropractors would say things like, I can help you with long-term medical problems. I can help you get over a cold, for example, or avoid the cold just without even getting it. That never made any sense to me. If all we're doing is manipulating the joints, how that could be. But then when I went to school, then I actually understand what chiropractic really is, understood the science behind it, and how it actually is more than just manipulating the musculoskeletal system. So what chiropractic really does is it's not so much about the musculoskeletal system, it's much more about the nerves, okay? Particularly the spinal nerves. So these nerves that come off of the spinal cord between all the vertebrae, if you looked on this chart, you would see them between each vertebrae, and then they branch out to the rest of the body. Those spinal nerves and the nerves inside the spinal cord are very pressure sensitive compared to the nerves out in the periphery. So you can put pressure on your finger and you can still move it and still feel and all that. If you stick it in a flame, you're still going to pull it back by reflex. All that works even though you've got pressure on it. But if you put a little bit of pressure on a spinal nerve, then suddenly it just doesn't work the way it's supposed to. It's not like it kills it or something like that, but it doesn't work efficiently and can't do its job. The closer you get to that spinal cord, the more pressure sensitive those nerves are. And so when we're adjusting, what we're mostly doing is feeling for spasms. So when you have a vertebrae, and feel free to ridicule my artistic ability because I have none, but you have all of these small muscles that connect all these vertebrae. And if you have a muscle that's spasming, let's say this muscle is really tight here, you can get alterations in the alignment of those vertebrae, okay? And so those alterations can put pressure on the spinal nerves coming out or the spinal cord itself. That's what alters problems, okay? Or alters organ function and balance and all sorts of neurological issues, but also physiological issues. Let's say you have pressure on this spinal cord here, or on the spinal nerve that goes directly to the liver. The liver can't send signals to the brain or receive signals as efficiently as it should. It's still going to talk to the brain, but it's got to figure out alternative routes, and it just doesn't work the way it's designed to work because there's pressure on that. And we all have pressure all the time from these little microscopic spasms that are happening. There's also inflammation that can create a problem. And so with chiropractic, what we're trying to do is relieve the spasm, cut back on inflammation, which we're going to talk a lot more about in a minute, and get those nerves to, or get these vertebrae to align so that that pressure is off there. So you may have heard things about chiropractics, about my back is out of alignment, or my hips are out of joint. Okay, they're not out of joint. All right, that's not it. But you do have spasm that can rotate things and put pressure on your body, so that things don't work right. The other thing that's really important about chiropractic is that, and I didn't know this before I went to school for chiropractic, I didn't realize that the immune system is absolutely married to the nervous system. So the immune system doesn't just help fight off disease, it helps to repair damaged tissue. Okay, so it's going to take out all the damaged cells and coordinate rebuilding new cells to rebuild any tissue. So if you twist your ankle, you're going to get a lot of inflammation. You got to repair all of that damaged tissue. It's your immune system that does that. But it is married, like I said, to your nervous system. And so if your nervous system isn't functioning correctly, your immune system doesn't function right either. And that's the way that chiropractic or spinal manipulation helps to keep your body healthier, and helps to repair damaged tissue and avoid infectious disease and that type of thing too, because it boosts your immune system and helps that work better. So that's kind of the basics of chiropractic and how we're going to be able to help your dog with her overall health, not just her mobility, but her overall health using spinal manipulation alone. So, is there any questions on any of that stuff? All right.